Okay, the next thing we're going to discuss is mixing WPS with non-WPS clients. WPS and non-WPS can coexist on the same network. However, depending on the order in which you do things, you can run into problems. If you have a WPS router and until recently have never configured any WPS clients on it, this means that you've set all your clients up using the manual method. So what you need to keep in mind is how your particular router handles configured mode and non-configured mode. Some routers will retain settings from a manual configuration by default. Others, such as this router, has a checkbox which allows you to keep your existing wireless settings or not keep your wireless settings. In this case, if this box is left unchecked, every time you reconfigure a new WPS client, a new randomly generated SSID, encryption type, and security key is generated. So if you already had wireless clients set up to associate with this router using the manual configuration method, and for whatever reason this box is unchecked, or you're using a router which does not retain its security settings by default, as soon as you connected your brand new shiny WPS device to this network, guess what? You've just changed all the settings you set manually and knocked your other devices off the network. On this particular router, there's a checkbox which allows us to lock wireless security settings. This prevents any external registrar from going in and using the router's PIN to reconfigure it. It also has a handy-dandy little button which allows you to reset the router to either unconfigured mode, and then once it's been configured, set it back to unconfigured mode, which allows you to access it with an external registrar such as Windows Vista or Windows 7 like we did before. So assuming that you already have a network with a bunch of clients installed on it using the manual method, and then you want to switch over to WPS, the best method to follow is basically to reset your router back to its factory defaults. Go ahead and use Windows Protected Setup to set up your new WPS clients, and then simply use the Windows Connect Now USB flash drive method to set up your non-WPS devices. Another odd thing that you want to consider with some routers goes back to what we were saying before about configured mode and non-configured mode. If you already have a router at home which you've used and configured manually, and you attempt to add wireless clients to it using WPS, you may find yourself puzzled as to why little or no security has been set up on your new devices. The reason for this is most routers take the words configured and unconfigured very seriously. For example, with some routers, if you just so much as change the SSID, that router is considered configured. Once WPS sees a router that's been partially configured, it does nothing to overwrite any of those settings. So for example, if you have a router set up manually with no security settings and you start adding WPS clients to it, WPS will not automatically set up security for you. It will leave your security settings as you'd left them because it sees that router as a configured router and will do nothing to overwrite or change or add any security to it for you. So once again, the best policy is when mixing and matching WPS and non-WPS, get your router down to non-configured mode, and in most cases this means resetting it back to its factory defaults and start everything from scratch. A little more time consuming, but it will save you a lot of headaches in the long run.